Using Nano Banana Pro plus Google VEO 3.1 unlocks God mode for AI filmmaking. There are a whole host of exciting new cinematic techniques now possible that we could not do before, and I'm going to show you how we can do everything from creating incredible time lapses to fancy aerial zooms that would have cost thousands of dollars to create, as well as leveraging the ability to recolor and refocus shots for advanced storytelling techniques. If you're new here, I'm AI Samson, and on this channel we explore the creative possibilities of AI. Now, why does this matter? Well, Nano Banana Pro now gives us the acute possibilities of editing images with exact detail. That means that we can take complete control over how we animate our shots and sequences. Let's kick things off with some time lapses. And usually you would have to set a camera up, you'd have to wait around, you'd have to edit all of these in post-production, and the whole thing would take a huge amount of energy. But now we can create highly beautiful effects like this. First of all, we're going to use Nano Banana Pro inside of Google Gemini 3. And for this, we'll need an image prompt. That gives us the context to create the very first frame of our video. Now, the whole idea here is that we create the first frame and the last frame, and we animate between the two. So what we can do is we can take an image prompt like this, pop it straight into Gemini 3. I like to also add in the aspect ratio here. We'll be working with 16:9 today. That gives us this beautiful full widescreen appeal. Now we've got the first frame of our image out, but what we want to do with this summary treescape is we want to translate it into a winter scene, and then we're going to animate between these seasons. Now, this would in real life be a 6-month long time lapse where you would painstakingly take a new shot every single day, but with the power of AI, we can speed that up to just a minute's worth of work. Now you can see we have the end frame. We've gone from summer to winter in just a moment. Now, the next step is to download both of these by simply going to download full size, and then we're going to come into the video tool. And for this, I like to use Google Flow, which is a place where you can easily access the latest Google VEO 3.1 model. Now, once you're in there, you want to come down into the prompt bar and select frames to video. This gives us the first and last frame effect, which is essential to this process. Now we go ahead and upload our very first frame, which is of the summary scene. Go to crop and save, and then upload the final frame. And then what you need is a video prompt. Now, you do not always need something highly specific here, because the information that we're offering with the first and last frame is often enough to tell the AI exactly what we're looking for. However, you can add in a specific video prompt to add more details of how we want this time-lapse to work. So I'll be using the following prompt. Time-lapse of an oak tree shifting through seasons. Vivid green summer leaves, gradually turning bright orange and red in autumn, falling and swirling in wind, branches becoming bare and covered in a frost and snow under a pale winter sky. So I'm going to put this up. And then we get a video out just like this. So the process here is to generate a first frame in Google Nano Banana Pro, then edit that in Nano Banana Pro to create the final frame. We then use those two frames to animate inside of Google VEO 3.1, going from the first frame to the last frame. Now, this is truly just the start, because we can employ this technique in a number of creative ways, and another one of those is to do it for much faster blooming of flowers. For example, this rose time-lapse. Now just look at the crisp, beautiful detail of this, and this is the type of shot that looks incredibly cinematic and would not look out of place in any natural history documentary. So, to create this example, I used the following prompt of tightly closed rosebud, slight green and red tones, morning dew droplets, soft backlit bokeh background. And this gave me the first frame. We have this lovely shot of the rose, and I simply then asked to show the exact same rose in full bloom, and it gave us this example. And you can see that the rose is now in full bloom, and then using this, it gives us this wonderful time-lapse effect. Now, if you'd like to follow along with any of these experiments, I've put together an entire toolkit for achieving these effects. Now, this includes all of the examples I'm going to showcase you in this video, with the exact image prompts and the exact video prompts that I use, as well as the actual first and last frames that you're welcome to use and experiment with yourself. Now you can find a link to download all of this entirely for free in the description below. And if you are not subscribed, I do invite you to subscribe to the channel. It will be a pleasure to have you along for the ride. And you can also turn on notifications, and that way you are notified every time I upload a new video. But let's crack on with some more complicated time-lapse examples, because this is where we can move things to new heights. So here we have a time-lapse of nature reclaiming these ruins, and you can see these vines growing into a verdant spot. This time-lapse showcases how we can go from a modern sci-fi city and then showcasing it abandoned in the future. And this is a perfect storytelling technique if you're looking to show the collapse of civilization. I particularly love how these clouds start to rise from the floor. Now, a great thing to explore with time lapses is to think about the different time frames that we can use. So it might be just a few hours, it could be an entire day, it could be a week, a month, or even many years. And this is where we get some real creative opportunities. So here's an example of doing this just from day to night. So here you can see we've got a beautiful cityscape with these cars slowly transforming into night. What I love about this example are these lovely long exposure lines of the lights on the cars here. Now look at this fantastic example of a construction time-lapse. We can go from a building site to a full gleaming skyscraper in seconds. And we can animate this in a beautiful way where we have this panning effect of the time-lapse. Now, another great technique for time-lapses is animating weather conditions. This is where we change a scene from one type of climactic experience to another. And this could be an extremely powerful storytelling technique because we can often use the weather to symbolize something that's happening in a story. For example, if we're going from sunny to stormy, we can indicate that there is conflict or danger ahead. Here is a scene going from this as the first frame to this as the final frame. And you can see that we've kept the landscapes the same, but we are animating between these two different scenarios. And we get this great sense of anticipation and dread coming in. Now, another situation where we can do this is by flooding an environment. This is where we're creating a sense of disaster coming through. So we can go from this scene, which is of this barren landscape, to having it completely flooded. And you can see here that we're also using an effect where we are moving the camera so we can have a more complicated time lapse. Instead of having it static, we can allow the camera to even move in. Now, one of my favorite ways to look at this is to apply it to processes of nature and of biological being. For example, we can create an aging time-lapse to showcase not only the passage of time, but also to create a highly advanced and complex special effect. So this human aging portrait is going to start off with this as the first frame, and then this as the last frame. So you can see that we've taken the first frame of an image and then asked Nano Banana Pro to update it with an elderly person. And you can see here that slowly we get this woman aging and turning into someone much older. And of course, I can even do that with myself. So here is me now, and there is me in 50 years' time. But one of my absolute favorite ways to do this is with mushrooms. Let's take a look at how we can go from a blank scene to a mushroom fully blooming into shot. We'll start off with this as the first frame of this lovely forest scene, and we'll end with this mushroom. And you can see just how beautifully this mushroom explodes from the earth here. Now, there are a couple of different ways we can look at using time lapses here and this technique. And one is like this, where we are keeping the entire situation around the object the same. This way we get a static camera shot. However, you can create a dolly time lapse, which is where we slightly change the zoom of our shot. And this gives us both the time lapse, but also a gradual zoom into the subject. And this is a more complicated effect that can be harder to pull off, but it allows you a more mesmerizing type of time lapse. And that's because now with Nano Banana Pro, we have the ability to take a shot and then ask for this shot from a different angle, a different scene, or from a different perspective. And that gives us a whole host of opportunities to animate between these two perspectives. So we can take this train scene here of a busy station, and we can also take this close-up of a man on a station with teary eyes, and we can animate between these two. So you can see here that we're able to beautifully zoom into this character and see him crying here. It's absolutely stunning. You can see just how well it brings us into his world. Now we can do this not only for interior environments, but also for exteriors, where we would usually need a high-powered drone and perfect climatic conditions to film. Now we can create something like this, where we've got this epic zoom, where we're going from a huge wide-angle shot, and in just moments we're able to come straight up in to this man's expression. And we get a real sense of, first, the vastness of his experience in the great outdoors, and then this real intimate moment where we're capturing the nuance of expression in our actor's face. Now, for this, it's very key to put in the video prompt, because often you might get odd animations between these two shots, which are not what we're expecting. And that's where these prompts are extremely useful. And naming the shot type helps a lot in this instance. For example, cinematic aerial zoom shot. Now don't worry, all of these prompts are available in the link in the description. We've got a whole document here that we spent a lot of time putting together for you. So this was the first frame, and this was the final frame. And let's do one together. So we can enter a simple prompt into Nano Banana Pro. For this, I'm going to get a Red Redemption style cowboy on a horse epic cinematic. And for those who are not familiar, Red Redemption is a role-playing game where you run through the Wild West as a cowboy. So this is the image we get out for that exact prompt, and now we can ask it to show this scene from aerial perspective at 100 meters away. Now the key thing here is that we're asking it to show this exact scene, which allows us to maintain the elements that create cohesion between these different shots. We want to keep the same color palettes, the same environment, and of course the same character. And there we have it. We've now got the scene from above, and we can download these two different shots. Now we can hop back into Flow and use the same first and last frame technique, where we upload the aerial shot as the first frame, crop and save that, and then we upload the close-up as the final frame. Now here's a cool little trick that you might want to use, and that is to ask Gemini to write us the specific video prompt that's going to smoothly animate us from one shot to another. Now this is leveraging all of these mighty tools together in a way that allows us to get exactly what we're looking for. Now one of the best prompting techniques out there is called meta prompting, which is essentially where we write a basic prompt ourselves and then ask AI to rewrite it in an improved way for itself. So if you are trying to get something in an image but Gemini is not fully understanding what you mean, you can ask it to try to write a prompt for itself to understand it better. So now we have a number of different prompts that we can use to animate between these two different shots. Let's take one of these and pop it in. And now we get out this video. And this showcases just how beautiful these aerial zooms can be. Now, before we dive into the next technique, which is one I think you're going to love, I want to tell you about today's sponsor. And they allow us to take the use of Nano Banana Pro for design to new heights. Let's take a deeper look. Now, LOVART is an entire AI design agent that allows you to create complex projects with the power of the latest AI image models. Now you get to use Google Nano Banana Pro, but also other models like Seedream 4, all inside their platform. Now what's great about using Nano Banana Pro is it has a much more intelligent model for understanding real-world importance, and that can be crucial for complex projects like creating a game. Now, another reason why it's working so well is that we can get character consistency for up to 5 people. And this means that we can create much more complex narratives. But it's not just that. We now get resolution up to 4K and the ability to easily edit our images with specific instructions like camera angles, recoloring, or changing the focus of an image. Let's dive in and take a look at exactly how this works inside of LOVART. So we can enter in a simple prompt, something like turn this man into the main character of an RPG third-person character concept, elf-like magician. Then make sure that you're selecting the Nano Banana Pro model. You'll see it here underneath the prompt bar, and add in an image of yourself. You can simply drag and drop this into the prompt bar. Once you're ready, go ahead and press on send, and we can sit back and enjoy the magic of LOVART as it goes ahead and generates our very own character concept. Now, what I love about LOVART is that you get an update as it's progressing. You'll see exactly what it's up to, so you can make sure that it's on the right track. Now, as this is happening, you have the opportunity to stop the task, and then you can bring it back on board. Now, one of the great things about LOVART is it works on an infinite canvas. That means that you can zoom in and zoom out and scroll around with great freedom. It gives you a much more creative workspace than working in a simple chat window like you would on Gemini. Now you'll notice you'll have the option to choose the exact model that you like to use all of the time by selecting the little cube icon in the bottom corner. And you see that they have access to Nano Banana Pro, Seedream, as well as Imagine for GPT-1 image and even Midjourney. Now you can also generate video inside of LOVART, which gives us a whole host of possibilities to access Sora 2, VEO 3.1, Halo, LTX, and many more of the latest video models. Now beyond that, there's even a 3D generator available, which allows you to create high-quality 3D models, perfect if you're looking to design a game like us. Now here I am looking rather fetching with my lovely stuff. Now what I love about LOVART is that we can go ahead and ask for multiple things all at once. For example, I've popped in this prompt where I've asked it to turn it into a PS5 style game, also create a 16:9 user interface, display this character as a playing card with attributes, create an inventory UI for the game, create a map screen, create a movie style poster, and create 3 game art concepts of other characters. This is where it really comes into its own, because you can create a whole host of different assets all in one go and have these generating simultaneously. Now we get all of these laid out across our infinite canvas, and you can see we've got Elf's Legacy coming into show and this beautiful rendering of a PS5 style game. And you can see that it works very well with a diverse set of media types. But I particularly love this map. Look at this map design, absolutely beautiful. Now what's great is that we can ask also for other instructions in natural language. For example, we can even ask it to make 2 variants of each of these images. Now this means that we're going to get a whole library of images generated quickly and easily, all to visualize our concept. Now what's great about this is that we can start to move these around and play with them. So we can start to bring our strongest concepts together and visually play around with our own work. For example, I'm not feeling this one is so strong, so it's definitely one that I'm going to move away. However, I absolutely love this concept art of these other characters that it's created, and this map is stunning. Now we're getting our variants of our images. We've got a different map style here, and also a different variation of me as an elf. Strength 10? Is that it? I think I deserve more strength than that. Now, these logical workflows that we have with LOVART are possible because of its design agent system, which includes intelligent AI making decisions on your behalf. Now, what's great, if you want to make specific adjustments to your work, you can simply go and select a piece and go to Edit Elements, and it can turn your text into completely editable typography. Now, you also get the layers separated, so you can move things around to your own heart's desire. But another cool feature is this ability to use Touch Edit, which allows you to select specific parts of the image. So I can select the text here by clicking with Control or Command, and you can see here it comes up in the prompt bar. Now we can reference this directly, and we can even say, change this text to Mistos. So I want to change the name of my entire game. This means we can use LOVART to turn our designs into editable files for complete control. So you can see here now I've got completely different text. Now what's wonderful is this style transfer. So we've taken these different images and we've asked it to take this style and apply it to the product design of some Bluetooth speakers. And you can see it's taken this wonderful retro effect and put it onto this speaker design. And this type of style transfer is just so much fun. I absolutely adore it. But we can apply style transfer in different ways. So we can even take an image, photorealistic image, and then ask for a painted abstract style to be applied to the image. And you can see we get out this lovely artwork of these two dogs and bananas. Now, the intelligence of this model is absolutely remarkable. You can pop in an image of a landmark like this. I've used the Eiffel Tower, and I've asked it to extend it to 16:9 aspect ratio, as well as annotate it with a number of different details and illustrations. Now, what's great about this is it has understood all of this information. It's extended the image and given us these lovely annotations and illustrations of the Eiffel Tower. This is a huge amount of work to do all of these different tasks, and it's able to handle this with absolute poise and ease. Now, one of the best ways to use LOVART is for creating collections of media. So for example, I've created this lovely set of posters for a set of headphones. And what we've done here is we've changed the text, we've changed the colors, but we've maintained consistency for the product and for the aesthetic between each of these different shots. You can see that it works incredibly well for this. Now, another great way that we can make use of Nano Banana Pro and LOVART is by taking a reference image. For example, I'm taking this black hoodie and then a base image. So I've got this image of this woman, and now I'm asking it to replace the sweatshirt with the second reference image, which is this hoodie. So I can do that super simply by clicking on Edit Elements and then making sure I use Command or Control click to select the elements that I'm referring to. We can then talk to them in natural language in the prompt bar. And we can easily replicate this and get out this beautiful hoodie. There are truly so many possibilities to use Nano Banana Pro. Now we can have up to 5 consistent characters, upload up to 14 reference images to build out our game, and access a whole host of different image and video models all in one place. And if you're serious about creating complex projects, then LOVART is a great place to do that. And best of all is that they're running a huge sale right now that gives you 60% off subscription plans, as well as the option to have completely unlimited access to Google Nano Banana Pro. Try out LOVART in the description in the link below. So as for another zooming example, here is one showcasing a romantic scene on a European city street. And you can see we've got this wide angle and then zooming straight up to this man who is proposing to his girlfriend here. And this has a wonderful sense of romance and also this timeless feel where we're combining a time-lapse with a cinematic shot. But let's take things to new heights, because one of the excellent ways that we can use Nano Banana Pro is by changing the focal point of an image. This means that we change what is the shot focused on. For example, we can take this shot here of a macro shot of a blade of grass, and we can finish up with the blade of grass out of focus and the background in focus. Now, this gives us great capacity for some beautiful cinematic technique. Now, the key words for this in the video prompt are dramatic focus change. Let's have a look at how that turned out. Oh, it's absolutely stunning, isn't it? It really pushes the limits of a cinematographic approach for this type of media. Now, here is another example showcasing a close-up of a watch, and here we are slowly shifting out of focus to this nature scene. Now, here is another example of using this with a face close-up and then focusing on the background behind them. Now, another great feature of Nano Banana Pro is the ability to relight scenes, and this means that we can change the type of lighting on an individual frame, and with that we have the possibility for completely adjusting the way that a scene shows up. For example, we can take this shot and relight it with a much brighter focal light. And then if we animate between these two, you can see we start off with this dark and moody moment, and it changes the lighting effect, and we come straight back into this much brighter output. Now, the other thing we can do is we can start to merge all of these techniques together. So we can include a time lapse as well as a perspective shift. And for this, we can have 2 shots, a wolf close up, and we can then animate to the wolf in a medium shot at night. This is how this one came out. And as you can see, we get a wonderful animation between these 2 different frames. beautifully smooth and crisp. Now in this example, we are really playing with the focal length here. We're switching the focus from this man's hand to his face. You can see here the hand is in focus and then the face. And animating between these two, we get this lovely sense of drama, but also leading the eye of the viewer from the hand to the face. It gives us this real sense of motion and cinema. And here we're starting to get really creative, where we're combining a heavily dynamic scene with a time-lapse. And this is a type of special effect that would be so difficult to replicate in real life. But with AI, we can unlock completely new possibilities. So here you can see our dancer at day, and then suddenly the dancer is there in the same studio at night. So we're getting this consistent motion and movement of the protagonist, and yet we're having the entire environment shift around them. And this is a wonderful storytelling technique we can employ. So you can imagine that Google Banana Pro is the precise engineering architect who is deliberately defining the exact elements, whilst Google VEO 3.1 is the dynamic, flair-orientated individual who animates us from one scene to another. It's like using the combination of Steve Jobs for the vision and Steve Wozniak for getting the job done. Now, when working with AI tools, I like to imagine myself as a great sports team manager, where I'm picking the right players, the right tools for the right job. I'm putting them in the right place in the process to create my unified team. We've been exploring different ways to leverage the power of Nano Banana Pro for cinematic storytelling techniques. Everything from creating emotional time lapses from day to night, between the seasons and even between years. We've looked at how we can leverage dynamic zooms going from aerial shots to close-ups to give us beautifully complicated shots that would have cost tens of thousands of dollars to create ourselves. We've also explored how we can leverage the brand new features of recoloring shots and refocusing shots in Nano Banana Pro and then animating between these two using Google VEO 3.1. The future of filmmaking is exciting, and I for one cannot wait to see what we can create. Now if you have enjoyed this video, then why not watch this one next, where we explore some of the creative ways that we can make use of Nano Banana Pro for images. But most of all, I want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching, and I wish you a delightful day.